I can assure everyone that there are no issues that arose in the course of that vetting process that would be any reason to expect Madame Payette to be anything other than the extraordinary Governor-General she will be.
Justin Trudeau defended his choice for Governor-General after revelations about her past came to light last week. On Tuesday, iPolitics reported that Julie Payette was charged with second-degree assault while living in Maryland in 2011. Now, those charges were dropped 2 weeks later. The government says it stands by its vetting process. The opposition, meanwhile, seems satisfied with Payette, but had this to say about the vetting process.
My position on her nomination has not changed. I indicated my support for her nomination when it was first announced, and I won't speak to what events happened in her personal life. And but I do think if the Prime Minister is receiving questions on what process leads to these types of nominations, he should at the very least answer those types of questions and provide Canadians with an understanding of what goes into that.
Many journalists this past week have also argued that the details of a Governor-General's past are newsworthy. The Governor-General designate herself won't comment other than to say the charges were unfounded. Let's bring back our Sunday Scrum for their views on this. Joining me today from Ottawa, freelance columnist Susan Riley, John Ibbotson of the Globe and Mail, and joining us from Calgary is Rob Breckenridge from News Talk 770. So Susan, you know, this woman gets announced, Julie Payette. She's incredible, but the honeymoon doesn't last very long because, you know, you're talking about a woman who's an astronaut, speaks 6 languages, she's an intellect, she's a scientist, she's youthful, she's charming, everything sounds good. And then in a couple of days we find out, oh boy, there were some charges back in 2011. What did you think when you heard about them?
I thought it was an embarrassment for her and showed really questionable judgment on the part of the government. I don't think it disqualifies her from being the Governor-General. Unfortunately, there's almost a constitutional obligation to be dull, though, in that role, which I hope she doesn't fulfill. She's clearly well qualified, but this was really badly handled. I mean, either these incidents, there was the incident mentioned in your intro, and then she was involved in a fatal accident in which a woman died. Again, not her fault, just a tragedy. They're bound to come to light. Either the PMO didn't know about them and was totally blindsided, which seems hard to believe, or they were completely unprepared for the inevitable questions once journalists found out about it. I mean, in the world of Google, really, if you're going for high office, there's no such thing as personal privacy. So they should have had an explanation ready. They should have offered perhaps a few more details to show how innocuous these events were. Instead of getting all shirty and saying, first of all, no comment, and then the Prime Minister saying, well, we've got, chosen a brilliant person. I mean, no doubt they have. But the system looked shabby. It reflects badly on the GG. It won't last. I'm sure she'll succeed in this role. But this was another example of the Trudeau government really mishandling something, I thought.
Rob, jump in on this because, again, it becomes less about Julie Payette as it was the same thing with Omar Khadr. It's less about that individual and more about how the PM has managed it. So far, he's not really confirming what he did or did not know about the charges that were brought against her. Why doesn't he just make it completely clear and transparent to the public? Yes, we knew and we're okay with it, or, oh shoot, we're just finding out like the rest of you.
Yeah, I'm confused. I mean, did they really think that nobody would know this? Certainly they should have known this. I mean, if for no other reason, then Julie Payette would have said, look, thanks for the offer. Here's something you guys need to know that may come up at some point. So would she herself have disclosed all of this? So, I mean, I think it does raise questions. If we're talking about a male appointee, would this be a different tone to the conversation? I mean, people have pointed to Justin Trudeau's decision in 2014 to suspend 2 male MPs from his caucus based on allegations. And certainly one of the principles involved there was the importance of believing victims. So does any of that come into play here, or should it? I mean, would it be a different kind of conversation if this were a man they'd appointed to the position? I think it probably would have. I mean, that shouldn't take away from the fact that the charges were dropped and that Julie Payette is certainly qualified and capable of being Governor General. But yeah, I mean, it raises a lot of questions about the process and about how the Liberals are able to handle uncomfortable revelations in the media.
Susan, I see you shaking your head. What are you saying?
Yeah, well, I wonder about Justin Trudeau and about the way he handles crises. I think, this is speculation on my part. John may disagree, but I mean, To me, he, like a lot of us, doesn't like confrontation. You could frame it positively as a certain delicacy, but with the two MPs that he expelled from caucus, I mean, he quickly handed that hot potato off to other members of his caucus to handle, the two Liberal MPs. When he dismissed the Liberal senators, he basically arrived at a meeting and told them, "You're fired." He didn't do any prep work at all. He may not have been comfortable asking Julie Payette uncomfortable questions. He may have thought, well, that's in the past and it's indelicate, and let's talk about the job she's going to do. These are admirable personal qualities. They're understandable personal qualities, but you can't run an operation as complicated and difficult as government unless you are prepared to ask very embarrassing questions of people.
John, why do you think Andrew Scheer didn't jump on this and make a bigger deal about how the PM handled it?
Well, first of all, it's not a huge issue. Ms. Payette is going to go on and be a very fine Governor General, I am sure. Secondly, it really would look like opportunism if the Leader of the Opposition questions the choice of the Governor General. It raises constitutional issues down the road on top of everything else. Third, never get in the way when your enemy is making a mistake. So the Liberals are feeling some heat from this. Again, I'm glad you raised the link, Joe Mercader. Again, it raises the question of the Liberals' reputation for elite condescension. Here it is happening again. So the Conservatives just stepped aside and let the Liberals wear it. It is confusing. This is really ancient history, but people may remember way back in the day when Scott Bryson was running for the leadership of the Progressive Conservative Party. And the issue was that Scott was gay, and although it was known inside the gallery, it wasn't known entirely within the general public. So he handled it by having an interview with a Globe and Mail writer, actually, and talked about the issue of his sexuality, and it disappeared as an issue. I think there was a way for the press gallery to learn about this from the Liberals rather than through our own investigations, for it to be raised and handled, perhaps through an interview, perhaps as a question during the press conference, and then dispensed with, rather than being shoved aside and how dare you even question our choice, you impudent reporters, because look, here we are talking about it.
Unfortunately, guys, we have to leave it there. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you. It's been a great Sunday Scrum. Our panelists have been freelance columnist Susan Riley, and from the Globe and Mail, John Ibbotson, both of them in Ottawa. Joining us from Calgary, Rob Breckenridge from News Talk 770. Thank you again, guys.
Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks.
At any time, if you want to join the conversation, you can tweet me at Natasha Futta. I'm going to look at my phone in just a second. Make sure to use the hashtag Sunday Scrum. And remember, you can catch up with the Sunday Scrum online. Simply head to CBCNews.ca and find the politics page. You're watching CBC News Network. We'll be back in just a moment.